Good afternoon, everyone. This is Valerie Edgeworth at the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, and we're so glad that you could join us today for our discussion on the Kentucky State Data Center. Correct? Is that right?
The
Center for
Kentucky Center for Statistics.
Statistics. I knew I was going to mess that up, and I should have written it down. I apologize, Scott.
That's all right.
But we are here to talk about some really unique resources that are out there for you that you can access in your public libraries. And we want to give a shout out to the Institute for Museum and Library Services for helping sponsor today's webinar. If you've got any questions for Scott during today's presentation, feel free to go ahead and type those in the chat box. This webinar is going to be a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended with KDLA. We do not have any slides today. It is all going to be live screen sharing of the KYSTATS website. So I'm going to pass it over to Scott so he can introduce himself, and we will go ahead and get the website loaded so that Scott can get started. So
great. Thank you. So my name is Scott Secamilio. I am the Visual Analytics Director at the Kentucky Center for Statistics, or Kentucky Stats for short. What we do is we are a longitudinal data system which links education, workforce, and a bunch of other types of data across time. So some of the examples here, we could look at a preschool student, look at their kindergarten readiness scores, and see if their third grade math K-prep scores are how they're doing there, if they graduate high school, what college they go to in Kentucky, and eventually if they're working in Kentucky. So there's a lot you can do with this kind of data. Our website is kystats.ky.gov. We are part of the Education and Workforce Cabinet. And if you want to learn more about us, you can go to this About KY Stats piece here. You can see our mission and history and legislation, etc. But just to kind of give you the brief elevator speech, we collect and integrate data across many different sectors so that policymakers, practitioners, and the general public can make data-driven decisions. And so we are governed by a board. And if you look at this board, the chair is the Secretary of Education and Workforce Development. We also have the Commissioner of the Kentucky Department of Education, the President of the Council on Post-Secondary Education, the Executive Director of the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority, so your financial aid data, and the Secretary of the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, who joined us earlier this July. So they set our research agenda, and we kind of go from there. Our Executive Director, Dr. Jessica Cunningham, she's been a part of KYSTATS for almost 4 years now. She started as our Research and Analytics Director, and now she's leading the way for us to get this data out to you all. If you have any other questions or want to contact us, you can go to the contact button. If you wanted to email me or you have any media questions, my contact information is here. And lastly, something I want to show you, which I encourage you to do. If you go to the bottom of our website, you have the chance to sign up for our listserv right here. And what that does, you'll get an email whenever we put out a new report. So we will not spam you. We will just kind of say, hey, we put out a new report on adult education outcomes. This might interest you. The last thing, another way to kind of get live information, if you will, or really recent information, you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and that's at KYSTATS for all of the above. And you can kind of just see when we post certain things, what we're doing, who we're talking with, partnering with, that kind of thing. Again, at KYSTATS. If you look at the bottom of our webpage, you will see our video library, which we'll continue to add. The first piece really gives you an overview, maybe a little better than I just did, of what we do. You'll also see other options, such as how to request data in the second video here, and kind of talking about our labor market information library. So about 2 years ago, we partnered with Labor Market Information, who's now a part of Kentucky Stats, and we get some really valuable information there as well. So what I'm going to do really quickly, if you click Reports, you're going to get a list of all of our reports that we've done. The blue buttons here are always going to take you to the latest version of what we call our annual reports. So an example here, one of our first we ever did was the high school feedback report. This is going to give you college going and college success outcomes for high school graduates for every school district in Kentucky. This is public school only, but it's got some really valuable information, and by clicking this, you'll get an interactive report for the latest data there. Some of the others that we include are the Kentucky Future Skills Report. So this looks at the historic supply of people who have earned credentials in Kentucky. This is high school diploma, GED, all the way through doctorate. You'll see employment outcomes for the current fiscal year. So you'll see how much they're making in certain, based on the degrees they obtained. And then you'll also see the future projection of occupational demand. So what jobs are coming to Kentucky? And you'll get a little more information on that through the Career Explorer that we'll go over here in a second. The post-secondary feedback report, very similar to the high school feedback report, except we're looking at all the 42 colleges in Kentucky. This is looking at your 2-year KCTCS school systems, your 4-year private, and your 4-year public schools. Again, you can go by major, look at employment outcomes over time. We now have over 10 years of data, so now you can say, I majored and got my bachelor's in nursing at the University of Kentucky, and I'm making X amount of money. I can expect to make that much money 10 years later. You can also see outcomes for transfer students and degree completion. Early childhood profile, that's looking at kindergarten readiness through 3rd grade, K-Prep, math and reading. Career and technical education, this is looking at career pathways for high schoolers. So they've taken some of this occupational demand and aligned some of their career pathways to the jobs that are of high demand in Kentucky. Teacher preparation feedback. So what are our teachers' outcomes? You know, how many are going to teacher prep programs? How many are completing? Are they entering K-12 public schools? Things like that. Skills U feedback, originally the adult education feedback report. So this is looking at kind of a county profile of what your area looks like, how many GED graduates there are, and their 2nd and 4th quarter WIOA measures. Finally, our last annual report currently is our Work Ready Communities. This is answering the question, do we have a skilled workforce in our area? And we'll be going over that one later. That looks at multiple education and workforce outcomes for all the counties in Kentucky.
And Scott, we might want to state what the WIOA acronym stands for.
Yes, so that is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, I believe.
I put him on the spot. Sorry about that.
But it's federal money that is basically to help career centers and a bunch of other organizations get people back into the workforce, those kind of things. And then lastly, if you scroll down, you'll get chronologically a bunch of other reports we've put out. One of the things you can do too, if this is overwhelming, besides clicking up here, you can filter by content, year, and whether you want a PDF or interactive report. We talked briefly about requesting data, but if you ever can't find something that's in our reports, you can request 2 types of data, individual level data and aggregate data. Aggregate data is going to be your quickest and easiest to obtain. Individual level data can take months due to a lot more security and privacy state and federal laws that we have to abide by, and so that requires a memorandum of understanding, and a lot more lawyers have to look at that form. Also, if you wanted to click our data dictionary, you can see all the types of data we have before you go to these pieces. All right. So if we click labor market information, it's going to take you to this screen, which we are working on to, making it look like our homepage. But you're going to get a lot of useful information, and we hope to make this more easily obtainable. But over here, you're going to get statewide wage and employment, as well as the local workforce areas. You're going to get employment and wages by industry, occupational demand. So we just put out the new 10-year projections. You have your local area unemployment statistics, a bunch of other things. You can also get to the Career Explorer this way as well. Okay, so why don't we hop into our first real report here. So what we have here is the Career Explorer, and it's a tool that allows students or job seekers, adults, whoever it might be, find a career that matches their knowledge, skills, and abilities. So it's not a job search tool. It is, here's what I'm good at, or here's what I find important in a job. What are those jobs that match that? And so it's really one of the first of its kind. There are a couple other states trying to do this as well. But what sets us aside is this piece, the expected knowledge, skills, and abilities. So you actually assess yourself on these things. Some of the other states do allow you to search by desired salary. So you can basically say, I want to make 50,000 or more. Here are all the jobs projected in Kentucky that will do that. You can also say, I want to major in, or I have a major or career industry certificate. What jobs require those? Or maybe you just say, you know what, I want to be an accountant, and I just want to know what it requires to be that. And you can go through the desired occupation field. What I want to walk you through is the expected knowledge, skills, and abilities, or KSAs. So you would click there. It's going to take you to this page. So we are working on a version 2, which should be out early next year, which is going to hopefully make this a little bit more user-friendly, but also it's going to add regionality. So right now this is at the state level. If you are kind of maybe near the Louisville area, maybe you want to know specifically what jobs are coming to the Louisville area, and we'll eventually be able to do that as an example. So what you're going to do, you have about 25 of these knowledge, skills, and abilities that are relatively unique to all the occupations. And so you see administration and management here. If you don't know what that means, you can actually click the info button and it'll give you an example or a definition. These definitions come from ONET, which is kind of a site that allows you to see more detail of this and all the occupations. And it might even dive a little deeper into some definitions. But what you can do, you can either type in a number here, it's a scale of 1 to 100, or you can fill in the meter. So administration and management, you can say, look at it 2 ways. I'm really good at this, or this is really important to me. So I would imagine you want to take it the same way for all of these. So we're going to go just fill out a bunch of different ones here. This is not how I feel, but because I can't I can't see you all, we can't really walk through one, but I'm just going to choose some, see what it says. And of course, if you at any point you wanted to say, you know what, I don't want to do this, I want to search the other ways, you can do that on the side here. But once we fill in, and you do not have to fill in all of them, but it does help give you a better match. Okay. What you would do is take me to my skills profile. Click that, and you're going to get all the matches based on what you filled out. So without any education level selected, my number 1 match was first line supervisors for farming, fishing, and forestry workers. The median wage for this is about $44,400 across the state. Only needs a high school diploma or equivalent, and we're expecting 160 over the next 5 years. You'll get a list of other things that are closely matched to what we chose there. But let's say, you know what, I know I want to get at least my bachelor's degree. You can click this. You might want to say, you know what, but I'm not sure, maybe I'll get my master's, I'm not sure. So you click that and you can apply, and now it's going to filter this to be relevant to your education level. So now our new best match is film and video editors. Not many though. So maybe this is something I look at and say, well, all right, we're looking at all of these titles, we're looking at the annual wages, we're seeing job and okay, this is a really big one. We need a lot of business operations specialists. They make about 25 or 20,000 more than what I was thinking. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into job selection, but we noticed that money is one of them. And so I'm just going to select a random one here. Why don't we choose art directors? Click here. And this is great because what you're going to get here are a few different things. So first, you're going to get the definition. What is an art director? You're going to get how many people are currently estimated employed in Kentucky, as well as how many new openings we have over the next 5 years. You're going to get a brief video. So usually these videos are around 1 minute to 1:30, telling you what everyday life is as an art director, what it's like, what your working context and work abilities are going to be. Part that's really kind of neat that we have added here is the results from the I guess the first part we did where we assessed our skills. Anything that lines in the green, yay, we've met the minimum requirement that ONET has said is necessary for this specific skill. deductive reasoning. So maybe that's something I need to work on in order to excel at my career. So you get a check mark if you meet that. Otherwise, it means you need to work on it a little bit. Over here, you're going to get what we call entry level, median, and experienced wages. So art directors at entry level make about $43,600, whereas the median after you've been there a few years, almost $75,000, and the very experienced art directors can make approximately $130,000. You get the state averages here, along with other similar jobs and how they fare. Another very important piece is it's going to show you the Kentucky-specific universities or colleges that offer majors to become an art director. So if I know that I live in Lexington, I can say, okay, University of Kentucky offers it, that's great. And you can go from there. Lastly, you get similar occupations, so let you remember the prior page. Maybe I selected the wrong one, but this is going to be specific not to your matches, but to art directors. So very similar jobs to art directors. You can always go back to the skills profile, or you can email your results, or you can start over as well. So I'm not sure if we have any questions at this point. Not yet. I'll just take you to these really quickly to show you how they work. But the income piece, you would basically say how much you want to make. And it's going to give you a slight interval around that. So if I said 100,000, it's going to go 10% below and above that. So the 29 jobs that in Kentucky that will make that or higher, you get here. You can also look at the specific majors or industry certifications. A lot of these, by clicking over here, will got everything from welding to dentistry to construction. Everything is in here. So you can see just to start, it goes in alphabetical order and numeric first. So you see all those welders. But I mean, you can type in something that's not even, let's see, dentistry. So that's also, we're working on adding synonyms to these occupations as well. Not everything, I might be called a research analyst, but that's not the actual title in ONET. So we're working on adding synonyms for that. But you can see, which places, what the job is like for majoring in dentistry, what jobs are available. And then clicking this will take you to the beginning. So that's the first piece, the Career Explorer. This can be valuable across all ages of Kentuckians. I think that this is very helpful, especially in libraries. Just having I think part of this, since it's a free tool and it doesn't require you to sign up or anything like that, is just knowing it's there. So why don't we move on? I'm going to go to the Skills U report and just kind of refresh this page. So here's an example of an interactive report we've created. This is specifically for adult education in Kentucky. You can see the breakout, and of course, if you ever want to know how we calculate things, you can click our technical notes here. This will go into calculations and variables and where the data comes from, etc. As we move forward, we're adding our social media pieces, so this is a really easy way to follow us if you want. So what we get in this report, and all the reports are laid out in somewhat of a similar way. You're going to get all 120 counties. You're able to filter what you want to see in this map. So currently we're seeing the how many people have less than a high school diploma in the working age population. So you really want to be on the light blue side. So for instance, this is a high percentage for high school diploma, of people that do not have a high school diploma or equivalent. And you can kind of go around and look here. You get an overview of the state. So we like to call this the county profile. How many people live here? So right now we're, full state. If I click, I'm just going to choose Fayette County. We can see how many people live there, how many are in the working age population, how many have less than a high school diploma, how many are living in poverty, how many do not have medical insurance, or how many are eligible for Medicaid, low-level English language learners, and the median household income. Now, because I clicked up here, the rest of the dashboard filters. So I'm actually going to unclick, and you're going to get the demographic breakdown of all enrollees in adult education. So Across the state, a little over 51% are male, almost 49% are female. You're going to see 65% are white, and so on. Ethnicity-wise, 13% are Hispanic, and then you get the different levels of education upon entrance. You can filter this too, so we can see of those who were specifically there to acquire a GED and how this might change. If you go back to the top, you can click Outcomes, and this is where we get into education and workforce outcomes. So what you can see here is we currently have it broken out by local workforce area. So there are 10 of those in Kentucky, if you're not familiar with that. You can split it by county as well. But it's sometimes easier to see outcomes at a slightly less granular level. So if I click Kentuckiana Works, which is your Louisville and surrounding counties, we can see there were 954 GED earners. Of that, 200 went on to post-secondary the next year, attempting 12 hours or 12 credits in their first year. You can see most of them enrolled in Jefferson Community and Technical College, which I think makes sense as that's the major community college in the Louisville area, and you get the rest here. Now, as we go down, you're going to see the employment and wages, and here are where you can tell the difference between GED earners and adult education enrollees. If they exited in 2017, you can see their second quarter and fourth quarter wages. The wages go up a little bit, the percentage goes down a little bit, and that is, could be a multiple things. It could be retention problems, or it could be they went on for post-secondary. They could have left the state. There's just a few reasons they could have left. But overall, you get these, and this is really important for SkillsU reporting for federal funding. Then, of course, you get some outcomes for GED earners specifically, and if you wanted to, you could see this by the local workforce area. So that is the SkillsU feedback. That's how a lot of our reports are laid out. The next one's work-ready communities, which I'm going to also refresh. Sometimes when they're open for a long time, they'll do that anyway. So work-ready communities is a really, I think, a neat project or report because it was in collaboration with the Cabinet for Economic Development. And it really does answer the question, do we have a skilled workforce? So employers are constantly asking things like, well, we want to build a new factory, or we want to open up a shop here. Do you all have the Kentuckians that can fill these places? And so this is really where this report came from. The Kentucky Workforce and Innovation Board, or the KWIB, helped set a lot of these criteria. And so if you ever see an info button here, it's going to give you some quick, brief summaries. So those are the criteria that need to be met. If they're met, they turn blue. If they aren't, they are red. So the goals are under 15% of the working age population without a high school diploma, or 85% or more having a high school diploma or equivalent. Internet availability of 25 megabits per second, 90% high school graduation rate, 43% of the population must have some college or higher, and 25% must have an associate's degree or higher. And so you can see the breakout. Here are the counties that meet all the criteria. So approximately, I think, 31. And then, meets one criteria, 2, 3, and 4. So here are your areas. You always get a little more information by hovering sometimes. It depends on the report, but Shelby County meets all criteria. Franklin meets 4. As we work to improve these, we might try to, you do get to see which ones they're not hitting down here, but we might try to just make it more or easier for you to see. So if I select, let's say, Jefferson County, if Jefferson County meets all these criteria, it's going to turn blue. So an example of a blue county then would be, I believe Fayette up there was blue. No, it wasn't. Shelby was, right? Mm-hmm. I think that was one. So if we click Shelby, you see that all the criteria on the right are blue. Therefore, the county becomes blue. But I'm going to choose, go back to Jefferson, just because it's bigger. So the only one that Jefferson's missing is this 5-year graduation rate, which comes right from the Department of Ed school report card. So again, it must get to 90% for that to be considered met. You get some additional information. So this key sector demand, there's approximately 42,000 jobs, and those are what they're in. So The key sectors, let me scroll down a little bit more, are advanced manufacturing, business and IT, construction and trade, healthcare, transportation, and logistics. So in the Louisville area and surrounding areas, or the Kentuckians works area, registered nurses, 2,879 of them are going to be needed, and this is consistent across the state. So it's an easy way for them to look at this. You get your workforce participation rate and different career readiness certificates, their certification statuses. So certain areas are either in the process of trying to get certified or not certified, or are certified. What's really cool is if you click this county profile, you get a lot more information that will hopefully be expanding. But if you remember the front page, Jefferson County was red, but you see an overwhelming piece of it is blue. So a lot of this is meeting, or a lot of the sections of Jefferson, these are actually census tracts, are meeting all the criteria. You just have different areas that probably have most of the population in it not. You get the total population here. You can always switch different county if you wanted to here. You get how many are in the working age population, so that's 18 to 64-year-olds. You have how many veterans are in Jefferson County, what percentage are living in poverty. As we scroll down, we get to see things like economic factors. So again, workforce participation rate, the unemployment rate, and median household income. Health outcomes were a new addition, so we get to see the overall health score. This ranges, so it's a Z-score for the non-statistic nerds here like me. It ranges typically from -3 to 3, so the more positive the number, the better. So a 0 would be average. So Jefferson is above the state average. Teen pregnancy rate is only 1%, and the obesity rate's almost 40%. Lastly, the additional resources. Since we can't fit everything into one report, or it gets really overwhelming, which I'm sure some of you will think it already is, we've linked to different things, some of the reports we went over earlier, as well as Career Center contact information, commuting patterns, those kind of things. So any questions on work-ready communities? None?
Lots of good data to go back and research.
I know, there's so much data here.
Yeah.
So that I think we might go over one more. It looks like we have a little bit more time, but I know we're kind of workforce heavy here, so I'm going to give an example here of our labor force updates. This is going to be really talking mostly about our labor market information. So you'll get all our previous ones here, our latest one for November. And it's really what we like to think of as kind of a newsletter. So each month it's a different topic. So this month's about understanding the change in Kentucky's labor force participation. So we compare it to the United States. We talk about how it's calculated. And then you get into, well, it's freezing on me here, so bear with me just one second. There we go. And you're going to get different scenarios on how things are. This is definitely more math involved this month than it is usually in other months, but you just get a bunch of different charts and explanations. And then the consistent part is you're going to get business employment dynamics, unemployment rates, civilian labor force, employment by the areas. And this is consistent across the different months. Also, a few fun things about KYSTATS and reports we've put out. And let's see. I think just so we can make sure we circle back here to where it all started as far as occupational demand. I think the last report we should go over is the Future Skills Report. So we are actually going to be updating this, and it should be out either December or January, just because of all the holidays. But what we have here again is those total credentialed people, which you can look at credentials or people. So just in the Bluegrass area, 104,000 people earned over 124,000 credentials between 2012 and 2016. You can see the breakdown. So 47% of that in 2016 was high school level, 22% bachelor's, what they were in, etc. You can even see a bigger breakdown by degree level and majors. So there are hundreds of majors at colleges, We've put them into 7 categories: arts and humanities. These icons remain consistent across all of our reports: arts and humanities, business, education, health, social and behavioral sciences, STEM, and trades. So again, using the same icons, you can see their 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year wages and percent working in Kentucky. And then just a very quick infographic of those 3-year outcomes. But again, clicking the future demand piece up here is going to take you to kind of where this whole expansion in the workforce talk has gone. Looking at projections of jobs. So we did a 5-year projection. Again, it's a little bit dated at this point. That's why the new one will be coming out soon. And just saying, there are 415,000 projected jobs over the next 5 years. Approximate wage is almost 40,000. You can see whether or not an occupation is declining or growing, and the educational skill required. So this grayish color means high school or equivalent. Middle means a career tech ed or certificate or diploma or an associate's degree. And high skill means a bachelor's or higher. So as an arrow falls further right, more jobs projected. As it's higher, the higher the wage. So you can see here, like, why don't we click, we're just going to do, just for this sake, to clear out some of these arrows, high skill. So this is going to be your bachelor's or higher requirements. Registered nurses are by far the most highest demand job. So we're looking at almost a need of 13,000 over the next 5 years. You get some of the main knowledge, skills, and abilities and working activities as well as regionality. So the Kentucky Inner Works and Bluegrass area, so Jefferson and Fayette, of course, needing the most. I believe surgeons make the most. So if you want to be a surgeon, we do need some of those in Kentucky, and you'll make closer to 300,000 than 200,000. But a lot of time in school. So there's some examples, and then you'll notice that there is a magnifying glass. So if you did click, it will zoom in here. You also have the different tools to pan if you wanted to. So if I said, well, wow, that's a lot of arrows here, I can click, and it'll take me a little deeper here. Lastly, if you ever find something interesting and you want to print it, you can always go to the bottom, click download, and you can create a PowerPoint, a PDF, or an image out of it. And so unless there are other questions, I believe that's going to conclude what we've got here.
So last chance for any questions. I've added in our chat box here a lot of the different links for all the different elements that Scott talked about today. So workforce ready communities, skills use link, the local workforce development areas, the link for Kentucky Stats is on there. So last chance for any questions before we move forward. All right. Well, I'm going to go. Anything else you thought of?
Okay. No, I would say just if you don't be afraid to reach out. So we're always looking to help people understand data, and it's a free tool for you. So take advantage of it.
Yes, we definitely. And I'll be honest with you, in library land, we didn't really know anything about this, and Scott actually reached out to us, and we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of this resource so that you could pass it on both to your staff and in the community. So just to close out here, we want to again thank the Institute for Museum and Library Services for sponsoring in part this webinar. We've got a few more webinars coming up before the end of the year, so don't forget to look at the CE calendar if you want to attend any of these training events. If you're not already following us on social media, please go ahead and do so. And I am going to go ahead and open up the survey link for you. That'll open in another window. We definitely need this survey feedback for our federal funding, and we're grateful for you all taking time out to do that. Tammy, I see you're typing, so I'm going to hold on a second. Tammy says thank you.
Oh, you got it. Yeah. No, thank you.
So anything else? Scott and I will hang out here for a few minutes.